a good opportunity for. Now this photo, this photo makes me laugh. All right, you guys, what is up? I hope you're having a good day. And today we're doing something super fun, super casual, low-key, relaxed, and we are reacting to some of the worst wildlife photography photos of my early days. Yes, that's right. This is going to be a little bit cringy, at least for me. Let's get straight to it. I've been doing a couple of heavy videos throughout the past couple of weeks in terms of hard, heavy topics. So I really wanted to do something just light today, just to kind of switch it up, just kind of have some fun, because ultimately at the end of the day, sometimes as wildlife photographers, we want to kind of get a little bit full of ourselves. And I think sometimes it's important to laugh at your own bad stuff. Let's take a look at some of the worst wildlife photography photos of my early days. We're gonna be looking through my phone. Just kidding, we're gonna be looking on my computer since my phone is glitching up right now. So let's get started. Let's take a look at some of the worst wildlife photography photos of my early days. We're gonna look through 9 photos right now. It's gonna be awesome, it's going to be fun, and we're gonna have a good time. So photo number 1, let's get started with this peacock, this Indian peafowl that I captured. I was really excited about getting this photo. And keep in mind, these are all photos that I wound up posting. So this Indian peafowl, I was super excited about this shot because I was excited because peacocks are beautiful animals, and I was excited to be able to capture a peacock, and it was cool and it was awesome. But anyways, all that to say, just a bad photo. Like, to be honest, when I look at this photo, I just think it looks way too cluttered. There's way too much overexposed sky in the background. Like, there's so many things wrong with it. At the time, I was really proud, again, because of the species, but you can barely even see the species in the photos. And so I think it's kind of laughable to think about how happy I was with this photo, because it really did not turn out that great. So just showing one example of how you can kind of have a great idea or a great amount of excitement that influences your how do you call it? Like your oh my God, what's the word I'm looking for? Your perception of the photo. Yes, your perception can make it appear as if it's way better than it actually is, when in reality, this photo was not good. It is way too cool of a color temperature. It is way too cluttered, way too undetailed. And even if you look, it's just not even in focus completely. So not a great shot, not super proud of this shot anymore. But moving on. What am I looking? I think I'm looking at this black vulture's butt in this photo. This is an example of getting into wildlife photography and not really knowing what makes a good photo. I think I was just excited to capture a bird flying, and I'm like, ooh, bird flying, aesthetic, sky, pretty. And as you can tell by the editing, I tried way too hard to make it an aesthetically good looking photo. But first of all, the bird's just, I'm looking at his butt, like I said before, so it's just not a good shot. And then second of all, there's a ton of banding in the sky. I'm sure you can kind of see that going in swirls around the photo. Pretty nasty. And third of all, why did I do a color gradient on this sky with 2 really weird colors? I don't know. So anyways, bad photo. And yeah, can't really believe I posted that at one point. Moving on, this photo is an example of getting a bird in flight and not knowing how. I think if I gave my camera to a preschooler and taught them how to click the shutter button and told them to follow this bird and try to take a picture of it while it's flying, this is probably what they would get out of it. The composition is just ridiculously horrible. Like, it's literally just in frame. It's not well in frame. So posting up this photo just shows that, like, I just didn't know what made a good photo. Like, the composition is just ridiculous. It's horrible, right? And so this shot has a lot to work on there. Too much motion blur in this. So beyond the composition being bad, the Montezuma Oropendola is very blurred. The motion blur is ridiculous on it, while everything else is static. So it's not like it's motion blur with a purpose and with creativity, but it's motion blur without purpose and without creativity, which makes for a bad shot. So really nasty shot. We're just gonna pretend like that didn't happen. This shot, yeah, I don't have an excuse for this shot. I should have been able to get the shot way better. What I think is really bad about this shot is just the ridiculous amount of overexposure on this subject's face. Unless you're doing something with intentionally very creative over or underexposure, generally your wildlife should have a good amount of exposure on them in the most important parts, which includes the head for pretty much every wildlife species. And so yeah, just not being able to get that is just not good. And this is just, I just didn't have an excuse for this either, because like this lizard was literally like, I remember taking this photo, he was literally sitting there for like 20-30 minutes, just like, so no excuse for why I couldn't get into a good position or adjust the lighting correctly, like just bad. Anyways, bad photo. An example of why I believe that shooting with manual exposure settings is so important. Anyways, moving on. So this is just an example of, I think, just like the standard everyday birder's bird photo that's just no good. Like I shouldn't say that. It's good for identifying the bird, and that's, I guess, partially why I guess I was taking these photos, but it's not a good photo for prints, for putting on a wall or anything. It just, there's nothing going on in this photo. There's nothing aesthetically pleasing about it. Beyond being able to see the bird in and of itself, there's really nothing good to this photo. Like, there's power lines running nasty lines through the photos. The background is smashed into the subject. There's no separation between the background that's all messy and all, you know, cut out and shapes and weird, I don't know, things, and the bird itself. So just a bad, standard bad photo. And I just figured I had to throw one of those in there because it's kind of embarrassing. So if you can't tell, the theme of today is kind of about embarrassing myself, because I want to talk about how I'm wrong today and how I had to grow in a lot of things. So anyways, that's what this is about. So this photo, pretty cool. I had a really cool moment with this guy, actually. This, I believe it was like a mangrove black hawk or something. I don't remember. I feel like that's the wrong species name. So if you're an ornithologist out there, either correct me nicely or just forgive me, because I haven't been to Costa Rica in a long time and I forgot what this bird's name is. But anyways, all that to say, this bird had a really cool moment with him. I did not even know he was around me until I was walking right through the dead middle of the jungle, and he comes swooping, grazes my hair pretty much. Like, I feel the wind and I look up and there's this beautiful hawk just swooping right there, and he just lands right there in front of me on one of these branches. Really incredibly bold. Really cool moment. But anyways, really cool hawk, and this shows like a moment that I could have had, like a really good moment that I just missed. Like, this shot just unfortunately didn't turn out that great. There's too much overexposure on his head. There's a lot of motion blur in his head. And again, this is why I talk about doing manual exposure settings, because if you leave it up to shutter speed priority, aperture priority, things like that, there's always going to be something you're sacrificing. And in this case, even, there's really no excuse, because even though the shutter speed is too low, and that's why I wound up being blurred, I could have very, very, very easily just exposed it a little bit less, because it's overexposed. So I needed less exposure anyways. And when you rely on a camera system to be able to capture your exposure, you're always going to wind up sometimes having results like this, where unintentionally things get overexposed, too little shutter speed, whatever it may be. So all that to say, just, it's good to learn those things. It's good to invest in those things. I'm glad that I've put the time in to learn how to do everything manually myself over the years, because now I never wind up having these mistakes, literally ever. Like, I don't even remember the last time I probably had an exposure mistake in one of my photos. So all that to say, not a great shot, a really good opportunity that was missed. Got a really overexposed branch, overexposed bird, got some sky back there that just looks really nasty, and unfortunately a moment that I missed a good opportunity for. Now this photo, this photo makes me laugh. This is just like the standard everyday Canada geese photo that you've seen probably like 200,000 photos of on the internet. And I think it's funny because, like, when I was getting into wildlife photography, this was about 4 months in at that point. I get back to America. I go to this place called Woodward Park. I'm super excited. And I'm like, ooh, there's a pair of Canada geese. And there is a little gosling right here. And ooh, super cool. Like, I'm gonna get this bird. And this bird is, granted, it's a beautiful bird. Like, Canada geese are beautiful birds. I think, at least. They're very beautiful birds, very aesthetically pleasing birds. So I'm not even trying to say you shouldn't try to get photographs with them. I have some photographs of Canada geese that I love. But this photo is funny because it's super cliche, super everyday wildlife photographer captures this with looking straight down into the water, getting them smashed up against the water, and getting the gosling there and the two parents. And it's just, I don't know, it's just kind of funny. It just makes me laugh because I've been like that. But anyways, moving on. So next photo right here is a photo of a mallard and the standard everyday shot of a mallard. And I think what I really wanted to show with this and kind of use this to start closing out this, because I have this photo and I have one more photo out of the 9 photos I want to show you guys. But this photo, literally, I'm like, ooh, cool lighting, cool moment. It's past sunset. It got some cool colors in the water. Go up to the water, walk up to the water. I see this mallard in the water. 2 minutes later, I'm done. I'm walking away because I walked up, just click, 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 looking down in the water, walked away. Couple things go wrong here. First of all, shutter speed's just not great, so he's not really, you know, tack sharp. But then second of all, composition is very lame. And third of all, I put no effort into this photo. But the next photo that I want to show you guys is a more recent photo. Not such a laughable photo. And here's the next photo. Same type of species, mallard, very common bird, yet what a better result going on here. And it's because number one, I put in the effort to get this shot. I had been laying down in prone in the middle of grass covered in camo for about 3-4 hours by this point that I took this image, and wound up getting a beautiful shot that I really love of this mallard couple here. But even knowing the moment from when the mallard came into the area, I was focused and fixated on getting this bird in the right composition and framing and position for about 45 minutes before he finally got into the right spot, and I had the lighting at the right moment and all of that good stuff. Whereas in the other photo of the mallard, I wound up waiting less than probably 30 seconds as I walked up to the water, took the photo, didn't even take the effort to get down eye level with the mallard, just snapped the photo, and therefore I got a much worse result than what I got in this photo. And so I think it's really funny and really hilarious that the amount of effort that you put in, and just looking back at the lack of effort that I put in back in my early wildlife photography days, shows directly in comparison with my results that I get nowadays. What a beautiful shot, night and day difference, and I think you guys can see it as well. Anyways, so I thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you guys had a lot of fun watching this with me. Make sure to go head over to my Instagram at Jeremy Knipe and check out some of my more recent photos. That way you can just make sure that, you know, I've actually gotten better from these days yourself in person, but be super proud and happy to show you where I've grown to and developed to nowadays as a wildlife photographer myself. And I want this to be an encouragement to anyone who is in the beginning, early days of their wildlife photography, or maybe even far along but feel like they really haven't grown a lot, that it is so possible to get better and better and better at your wildlife photography if you put in the effort. And effort is really the key word, like I talked about in the end of the video. Effort and a willingness to grow. So thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed today's video. Don't forget to subscribe below if you haven't already. Helps me out a lot, helps me grow this channel, and I can't wait to see you guys in the next video.